Hey guys, Stephen Cox here, and today I thought it'd be fun to just play some songs for you and then let you guys ask some questions. So I'm out of town, but I've got my U-Bass here, and it's unplugged. I didn't bring an amp with me, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to do an unplugged session anyway. So this is the exotic mahogany model, and it has the collar round wound strings. So I'm gonna play some songs on here for you, and then just let me know what you guys think or if you have any questions about it. I'm not sure if the chat's working, so I noticed there's a person on here. If you want to check it out, you could let me know in the chat if the chat is working, and anyone let me know if the stream is working for you. All right, thank you. All right. So Seth, thank you for letting me know. The chat's working, everything's working great. Appreciate it, you guys. And that was a short version of a song called Going Camping. And I think that was the first song I actually wrote for U-Bass on the U-Bass. So I thought I'd play that one for you guys first. Obviously, I like playing songs in the key of G. I think the next couple are also in G. But you're probably familiar with these if you've watched the channel before, and if not, they might be new to you. This next one's called Green Tea. Hey, Bobby, I see that you're asking what year was this. As far as the U-Bass model itself, I got this one back in 2000, I think it was 2017 that I actually got this one. So that's how old the U-Bass is. The song is from the prior year. Well, really, the full length version of the song is from the prior year. But if you go back on my channel, there's an upright bass version of this song called Green Tea. I believe I called the video Green Tea Extract, percussive upright bass or something. Maybe I put that in the opposite order. But that one's been on the channel for several years. More than 5, maybe even 10 years at this point. So that song's been from a while ago. So Henry, you say, could you give me some advice on how to play ballads on bass? Yes, I can do that here in a second. And let me see what Navik says. Hi there. Why are we unplugged today? Okay, so I'm traveling. As you can see, I'm in a different location. I'm not in my normal place. I'm actually coming to you from New Mexico. So I'm in a different state, and I couldn't bring an amp on an airplane. So that's kind of the main reason is there wasn't really a good way to do that. I don't have a really portable amp or anything. So that's the reason we're unplugged today. But also because I just thought it would be kind of a fun idea. Yeah. So so yeah. So it's a little bit different, just kind of changing things up a bit. And as far as how to play a ballad on the bass, really depending on what kind of ballad you're playing. If you're playing a jazz ballad, it might be different than playing just something backing up a singer. And are you wanting to play all of it on the bass, like doing a chord melody, or are you just talking about a bass line specifically, Henry? Let me know in there, but I'll kind of just assume we're just talking about a bass line. And then if you want to know about kind of arranging something for you bass, then that's a totally different story. But what I would recommend is start with root notes, really long sustained notes first. So kind of less is more in that sense at first. So like if you're playing a song and it's a 1-6-4-5 in C, let's say it's a ballad that's in 6/8, so you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that kind of thing. Then you probably want to play very simply, like a note that lasts the whole measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you can kind of split it up from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One. So I'm doing there is doing little walk-ins to each note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. That kind of thing. 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. So you can do little walk-ups. You may not want to do a walk-up every time, but sometimes a little thing like that can propel the motion forward. So if we're doing a jazz context, it might not be in 6/8 like that. It might just be in 4/4. You might still be able to get away with doing some little swung walk-ins, but maybe not. So keeping it simple, occasionally doing walk-ins. If the whole band is doing something that's a walk-up, you might be able to do a walk-up there too. But basically keeping it simple and sustaining notes is probably your best bet. Staying out of the vocalist's way or staying out of whoever's playing the melody's way. That's really the main thing with the ballad. But sometimes they require a little extra push from the bass just because they're so sparse that those little tiny walk-ups might be nice, but leave a lot of space before stuff like that. Just depending on who you're playing with, they might need you to help keep the time a little bit. Okay. How about a U-bass on, say, Yellowbird? I don't know if I know that. I don't know on say Yellowbird. I'm not familiar with that. Oh, very cool. So Navik says, since I couldn't decide on the Bamboo or the Nomad, I went in between and got the Scout. I think that one's going to be pretty cool. I know a couple of people that got the Scout. I can't remember what they had to say about it, but that's awesome since it's got the cutaway. So if you like the cutaway, that's a big advantage of that over the other two. I really liked the Bamboo, though. I know you're saying you're kind of in between on those. Out of all of them, I haven't played the Scout yet, so I really don't have an opinion on that. So I'd love to hear how you like it. I think I like the Bamboo the best, though. Yeah, sorry, Bobby. I'm just not super familiar with it. But I did write a song the other day, and next Tuesday's video will kind of be more on that. I'm going to try to play it. We're going to see if I can still do that. But the lesson video, or have the tabs kind of playing along, that'll come out next time. So I was thinking this might be kind of a fun way to introduce that song, if I can remember how to play it. I'm already forgetting. But yeah, we'll try that in a second. I think I'm calling that one like Serene Journey is the name of this new song. So I'll play that one for you. And Oscar says, punchy, isn't it? I'm not sure if you're talking about the exotic mahogany or if that's related to the bamboo conversation. I would say both are punchy. This one has a little bit more punch to it. But I'm going to go ahead and play this new song for you. Hopefully I'll remember how to do it. Okay. That's pretty much the whole thing. So I'm just going to talk about the theory behind that for now, because the song's pretty short, and that's really the main thing. I could like repeat the sections more, but I don't really have any more to it than that. So it's really just that A section, then the B section, then back to the A section. So so let's just talk about that for a minute. The technique I'm using here is a finger picking technique that's basically just adapted from guitar or from ukulele. So I'm using my thumb, my pointer, and my middle fingers to just pluck the different strings. I'm kind of assigning a finger to a different string. So my thumb will play the A string, and probably the E string if I'm playing any E strings. I think of the B section I do. My pointer finger will pluck the D string, and my middle finger will pluck the G string. So what I'm doing over here is I start with an E minor 7th chord. So that's going to be the 7th fret on the A string, the 5th fret on the D string, and the 7th fret on the G string. So, right. So if you played them all together, it would just be those 3 notes. I'm not playing the E string at all right now, but you could. Theoretically, it's actually part of the chord as well, because it's an E minor chord, E minor 7. And so basically the finger picking pattern sounds like this. And then I'm adding a note in there. So first what I'm doing before I add that note is I'm doing thumb, pointer, thumb, middle. And remember, my thumb's getting the A string, pointer's getting the D string, and middle's getting the G string. So thumb, index, thumb, middle. So then after that, I'm hitting the thumb again. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb. And remember, they're just on those strings. So about this finger picking kind of technique with the right hand, it's like my hand is fairly loose except for when I'm plucking. And then it's like I have the fingers just kind of resting on the strings. So it's kind of built-in muting. So I'll play the thumb, then it'll go right back when I play the next note. So you could practice just doing that. Just go thumb, index, middle. And I might actually not mute them, but you can mute them if you want to. You can also just let them ring out. And that's really what I'm actually doing on here. I'm letting it ring out, now that I think about it. but you could use them to mute as well. So they kind of just hover very closly to the strings that they're plucking. But I kind of start the song with all the fingers just there to kind of anchor me. Okay, so thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb. And then we've got the 9th fret on the G string, which I'm going to pluck with the middle finger. Then we do the thumb note again. So every other finger is going to stay in the same place. I'm just using the pinky to get that 9th fret. Okay. Then I hit another thumb note after that. So it's thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, pinky with the pinky on this hand on the 9th fret, and then middle finger plucking. And then I remove it. And after playing that thumb note, I pluck the G string 7th fret. So I just pick my pinky back up, but leave the other fingers put down where they are. It's the same. Okay, and then I go. This is going to be after that thumb, middle, thumb. Sorry, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, middle. We'll see. Okay, so the whole, I'm just gonna give you the whole pattern all the way through, so it's not confusing. You might have to slow it down and come back to it. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, middle on the 9th fret this time, then thumb, 7th fret on the G string, middle finger on this hand. And then we got, which is going to be thumb, middle, no, sorry, thumb, index, thumb, middle, then thumb, index to round that out. That's so hard to say back to back, but that's kind of the pattern that I'm using for this one and the next chord. Thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, 9th fret, thumb, 7th fret, thumb, index, thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb. So that's the whole thing. If you want to slow that down and check it out in a minute. We're on the playback. Okay, I think I got that right. And then we move that pattern down here. And the only thing we're changing is like the last G string note, and we still end it with a thumb. So actually we do the thumb index thing at the end, just like we did on the previous one. So this one's a D7 chord. So right now I'm just going to go through the chords of it. Maybe I'll do a full lesson next time, because I think I'll have it more organized and it'll be a little bit easier to follow. But that's what I'm doing with the right hand, is just kind of finger picking, and that's really the basic pattern that I'm using. I think from there you can kind of figure out. And if you can't, I'll try to do a full lesson on Thursday, although the tab play along will be out on Tuesday. So let me know if you have any questions about this or any questions about other things. But the first chord is going to be an E minor 7. And that's basically 7 on the A string, 5 on the D string, and 7 on the G string. And the next chord is going to be a D dominant 7. And that's going to be 5th fret on the A string, 4th fret on the D string, and 5th fret on the G string. You can kind of see that. And then the next one is a C major. And so what I'm kind of doing is 3, 2, open. So from the A string 3, the D string 2nd fret, and then the G string open. And then I kind of walk a melody note of the G string in between with the finger picking pattern. So it's kind of a tricky pattern, but basically any note that's on the strings that I named stays with the finger that's on there. So when you look at the tab later on, just assign your fingers to those strings on the right hand, and then the left hand you can kind of just play along with. So that'll help you for kind of digesting that when you get to that point. So does anybody have any questions about anything, or just anything else they want to share. I know that Nowix was saying he's getting the Scout, which is pretty cool. Oh, and then he was asking about the thumb rests. So you got some thumb rests. Okay, very cool. I haven't used them. I know some people that have them, and it's probably a good idea to have a place that you can anchor your thumb so that you don't have to alter your electric bass technique as much. And then some people even like to put them underneath to anchor here so they can pluck with their thumb. So you could have one here and one there, but I think just doing one instead of the other is pretty cool. Yeah, and the exotic mahogany. So this is the exotic mahogany U-bass. Right now I've got it without the back plate on because the back plate kind of rattles when I play. So I think that's one thing about it is the magnetized strip just kind of wears out over time. But I kind of like it with the back plate off anyway. It makes it easier for you to get to the strings. And it's kind of cool because you can kind of see through the instrument. I don't know if I don't have any light behind me for you to see through it, but there you go. You can kind of see through it when you do that. So it's kind of fun. But yeah, the exotic mahogany has a really cool look. I like it a lot too. So there's that. I guess I could try playing another song. I might try to do a short version of kind of Victor Wooten's Amazing Grace, but not exactly the way he plays it. Just maybe the intro and then sort of imitate when he gets into the harder stuff. Was he? I don't know what he does there. I'm sure he tunes this up, but I'm not going to do that right now because I think it would be pain in the butt to tune, so I'm just going to go. But yeah. Have you ever played a song with harmonics? Let me know in the chat if you've heard of harmonics before. I think they work a little bit better on these strings than other strings. So that's these notes. And basically with harmonics, you just touch lightly over certain frets. It only works over certain ones. And basically there's like a mathematic equation to why. So if you play the 12th fret harmonic, that's the one that's literally right in the middle of the string. Like if you were to measure this part of the string and then compare it to that part, they'd be the same length. So when you split the string in half, you get an octave above your main note. And then when you split into fourths, you get 2 octaves above, even if you do it over here. As you can see, I'm not completely accurate. I'm just kind of estimating on the ones where there's no real thing to compare it to. But I'm just visually cutting the string in half, then cutting the string in half again. And then getting kind of close to it. So yeah, so that one's kind of fun. And then you get different pitches when you split it into different kind of segments. So here's kind of an idea of the ones you can get. So hopefully that tells you kind of, as you can see as they get closer together like that. They're not quite over the frets. They're kind of in between the frets in weird little spots. But yeah, that's the overtone series, basically just like harmonics going up. So this one is the same as this one, because I think I'm splitting the string into, I wonder what increment that is. Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like I'm splitting the string into 5 equal pieces when I do that. So when I'm right over the 4th fret, or the 9th fret, or this other spot, or this spot. Whoops. There it is. So you can see you can get the same harmonic in different places on the strings, but Victor Wooten's just using that. Another person that uses harmonics a lot is Jaco Pastorius. You get the idea. And he also uses false harmonics. So a false harmonic is where you hold a fret down and then you play a certain fret. So the one that he does in that song, Portrait of Tracy, is he holds down the 2nd fret, reaches over to the 6th fret, which is why I can do it on U bass, but not so well on full-size electric bass. I think Jaco's hands were just fingers were just a lot longer than mine. I'm not sure, but I think so. But yeah, you push down the 2nd fret, and then your pinky gets the 6th fret over here. So that's the way he does the false harmonics. But basically what's happening there is this finger is shortening the string, and then the rest of the harmonic idea works. So it's like if you were to play the 5th fret, right, and then split from the 5th fret, that actual piece of metal, down to this bridge in half, or down to the saddle in half. So if I estimate that, what's the halfway point there? Somewhere around here? I'm wrong. It's right there. So that's splitting that in half. If I split it in half again, I think that'd be this fret right here. Then I should get the 2-octave harmonic. Yeah, that'll be easier to do with the pinky. So what I was doing there, by the way, was I was using my thumb to hold over the harmonic and then plucking with the finger. So that's kind of cool. I have videos on harmonics basically where I just go over that, but that's just kind of a fun thing to do. So I'll try to figure out something else that might be kind of fun. I guess I haven't done any slap. Are y'all interested in how acoustic slap sounds on this? Maybe tapping too. That kind of stuff's kind of fun. So tapping, sometimes you may want to mute on this side so that you're not getting the sound that would happen out of here. Because when you tap here, you're hearing this side and the other side sometimes. But it's not too bad on here. It's just these notes won't come out quite as loud as they would if I had it plugged into the amp. So this other kind of tapping works better because I'm getting a little extra boost from kind of pulling off of the string before plucking the other notes. All right, so one thing I want to mention is I got this about almost 4 years ago at this point. I think it was 2017 around July or August that I got this one. So I have not replaced the strings on this, believe it or not. So these are ancient strings at this point, right? They're almost 4 years old. So if you look at them closely, you can see the worn spots over the frets. And basically, They the silver plating wore off there, and they reveal like a almost looks like a copper color underneath. I'm not sure what metal it actually is, but it almost looks like copper underneath. And there's some spots where they're slightly corroded, but mostly just dirty. They all have the nylon core. So what I found kind of amazing about this one is just that the nylon core has lasted. I mean, I slap and pop on there, you know, and it didn't break the strings. Hey, Aviva, how's it going? So, so I just thought that was kind of cool. If these strings are like basically 4 years old, still working. But some of this tapping stuff where I was saying where these notes were a little bit quiet, they may not be as quiet on new strings. The strings may just not be holding the pitch as well because they're, I don't know, the strings might be dirty. They're just worn out just in general. But at some point I'll put some new ones on here, I think. I just think it's really cool that I've been doing slap and pop on here. I mean, I've kind of abused these strings over the years. I mean, I've done classical thump on here a couple times. Not very cleanly, apparently. Now, I've done that kind of stuff, and I've popped the strings pretty hard on several occasions, and none of it has broken the nylon core, which I thought would have happened in 4 years. But I haven't been playing on it every day or anything, so it's not like I've been slapping and popping on it for the last 1,000 days or something. But it is pretty impressive that these things last. So I'm just going to ask you guys, which one of the techniques I've gone over is your favorite technique? So I've gone over some slap and pop stuff. I kind of count that as one technique. If you just want to say slap, that's fine. The tapping. The finger picking, kind of like a ukulele or a guitar player would do. And all that stuff. Harmonics. What else have I gone over? I guess just playing chords in general, just being able to go like, I guess you could strum the chords too, so if you like strumming, that's kind of cool. Thanks, Aviva. So if you guys don't know Aviva, she's kind of, I bet you probably haven't heard of her, but she writes songs. I know she used to do every Sunday. She had Sunday songwriting. She might still be doing that. I just haven't checked in every week to know for sure. But she also does a whole lot of just other things on her channel that are just more like meditative and spiritual kinds of stuff. So if you get a chance and you like that kind of stuff, check out her channel. She does some ukulele songs as well. She writes a lot with ukulele. So, and I've actually been on a couple of recordings with her. She's done, she did a song called Soup. It was a children's song on a children's album. I actually played upright bass on that, which is kind of fun. And then I believe I have a video from a long time ago where it was the first gig that I played with U-bass was with her. And I can't remember if it was this one or if it was with the rubber strings. And I don't think I had any footage from the first one, but there was a festival that we did together. And I recorded that and did like a gig blog a long time ago. So I believe that was at the Off the Grid festival. So kind of getting to hear it with the band, kind of playing live, might be kind of cool. If you kind of go back on my videos, it probably would have been between 3 and 4 years ago. So I can't remember exactly when we did it, but that's kind of cool. But yeah, if y'all get a chance, check her out if you like that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool stuff. She's got a very unique and interesting vibe. Her music's very energetic and just very positive. So check that out if you get a chance. She's someone I played music with regularly over the last several years. So definitely check her out. And thank you, Aviva, so much for stopping by. trying to figure out what to play for you guys now. I've kind of played all the stuff I had planned, and then played a few things I didn't even have planned. But I could just improvise something, I suppose. Let's try something. I'll just make something up. Right, that was kind of fun. So as you can kind of tell, when I improvise things, I kind of have some patterns that I kind of go to. So there are certain finger picking things that my hands just kind of want to do, and I don't want to sit there and like stop them from doing that. So I kind of just let them do that. And I kind of went back and forth between the key of C major and the key of G major, and occasionally went into A minor, which is still essentially C major. So it's kind of fun going back and forth. And there was only, I think, one chord. No, that chord wasn't even outside of that. It was technically I played a D major chord, but that just is one of the chords in G major. And then the way I got from G back into the key of C was, instead of hitting the major 7, the G major 7 chord, I just hit a G dominant 7th chord, and I was back in the key of C. I think I've talked about those kinds of things theory-wise on a couple of lessons. I'm not sure what the titles were, but it's cool to look into that. Pretending you're in another key, sometimes you can hit the 5 of a chord. So like, let's say we're in the key of C major, but we want to pretend like we're in G major for a second. Well, in G major, our 5 chord would be a D7 chord or a D major chord, just however you want to look at that. And that leads nicely into a G chord, but that D major chord is not really in the key of C. So we can temporarily borrow that other chord to move into a new key, and then we can decide either to stay in that key or just to go immediately back into the key of C after that. So let me give you an example of the kind of how this sounds. We're playing the key of C. So an F chord's in the key of C too, G. But now I want it to feel like we're in the key of G. So I'm going to go to a D, D major, right? And then that resolves to that G major chord. And if I want to go back into C, I can turn that G into a G7 chord. Back into C. So not really a bass lesson, but just a general theory lesson for you guys. So once again, I'm not sure if it's showing me every comment or not in the chat. So let me know right now if you have any questions or any suggestions, anything you'd like to hear, or any questions you'd like to answer about the U-bass or just about music or theory. So just let me know, and I guess I'll just noodle around until I see your questions. Okay, so Aviva asks, any upcoming gigs? The answer there is I've been playing a lot of weddings and a lot of church services. So I don't really have a lot that are just like public gigs that just, I mean, I guess you could go to the church if you want to. That one's in Sugar Hill. If you're ever around Sugar Hill, it's Sugar Hill Church. I'm not there every week, but they usually have me there maybe once a month or twice a month filling in. So they have a few bass players they like rolling through because they like, you know, different things up there. So I think if they, I don't know if they pick songs based on which bass player is there, or if they just like having different people in every time. But that's the one that I've been playing at. As far as other gigs besides weddings, I don't think I have any on the books at the moment. I've had a few in the past, but that's the reason I'm not really promoting a lot of gigs, is because most of the time it's the weddings. But yeah, that's about it. All right. Doesn't seem like anybody has any questions. Oh, thanks, Aviva. I appreciate you stopping by once again. So probably just gonna play one or two more songs, and then probably call it after that, unless you guys have any specific questions or kind of specific things you want to hear, maybe on the Unplugged Exotic Mahogany with the round wound strings. Just let me know if there's something that you'd like to hear, or if you have a question. I'll come up with something though. Let me think about what song would be kind of nice. I don't even remember my version of Canon. Oh well. pretty funny. I can't remember it. Try again. What did I do there? Here it is. Oh, it's supposed to be a G. So that's what happens when I try to play something I haven't played in a long time. I thought it'd be kind of fun because that was the first arrangement that I came up with on Ubase, was a version of Canon. But I haven't played it in so long that I had to kind of make up a version and kind of pull from my memory and kind of hodgepodge them together just now. But it's kind of fun doing that. So let me see. Chris has a question. Just got my first Ubase today. Can you suggest something easy and fun to learn, practice to get started? I think something that might be kind of fun, Stand By Me is not too hard. I have a version of Stand By Me. What I would do is leave out the ghost note that I do there and just kind of play the just learn that much of it, because I think if you do past there, my version goes into like doing a chord melody, but the beginning is literally the bass line that's actually played in the original song all the way through. You can do it there, or you can do it on a different part of the neck, but I think that would be kind of a fun one. If you want something even simpler than that, because I'm not sure where you're at with playing, but if you want something even simpler than that, Under Pressure, or you know, the Vanilla Ice song, the Ice Ice Baby rip-off kind of thing, you can do the 7th fret on the G string and the 7th fret on the D string, and just so that's on the G string, dun, 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 and then hitting the next note after that on the D string. What was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's six plucks on the 7th fret on the G string, and then play the 7th fret on the D string after that. And if it were Under Pressure, you just repeat that. But if it was Ice Ice Baby, you'd hit an extra 7th fret on the G string after the pattern, like this. So I think that's right. I might have part of the pattern. I think that's correct though. So that one might be easier than the other ones, just if you want to have a very, very simple song to just get started. And then from there, you may want to play a few other things. I'm trying to think of other ones that are simple. Root 5th bass lines. I have a lesson on basically country bass lines, where you're doing like a root and a 5th. So that would be like an example. That's the 3rd fret on the A string, and then playing the 5th fret on the D string. Yeah, and so I actually have a beginner playlist. Let me see if I can link that in there just to make it easier. It's awesome that you're. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate you being subscribed. Let's see. If I just go to my channel, it'll probably immediately play back a video. Hopefully that won't crash the computer. Let's see. Playlists. And then I go to... It should be on the main page. But... where is beginner? Okay, it's kind of low down on the list. So let me see if this will work. Just let me know if this works. And hopefully that'll be the beginner playlist. That's what I'm hoping that is. Let me click. I'll just, oh, it's wanting me to leave the site. No, I don't want to do that. So yeah, that one should be the well, that did something completely different. It copied the wrong link. Let me try again. Sorry guys. I'm gonna pause this. Click on. I want to share the playlist. All right. Let me click on the playlist and share that with you. All right, so hopefully this will work better. I apologize for that. Oh, that did work? Okay. If it didn't, there it is again. I think it just won't let me go to it because I'm streaming. But hopefully that did work for you. All right. So any other questions anybody has? Those are some great questions. Good, you know, getting the beginner stuff out there and stuff to get started on. In that beginner list, I think I put a few songs on there. There's one that's almost like Folsom Prison, and I played it in F because the recording sounds like it's an F. Someone else had told me that he actually played it in E, and it just got, you know, the tape got sped up maybe to where it sounds like it's an F. But I have a feeling he might have actually played the song in F with like capo on the first fret. I don't really know. Someone else might know better than I do on that. But if we play it in F the way I have it written, you have like a root and a fifth going on. And it's a 12-bar blues. And then when you get to a certain part, it has a walk up. And I do root. I think I do root down to the fifth there to keep the notes low. So instead of going like first fret on the A string to third fret on the D string, that third fret on the D string is an F note. So I just take that F note down the octave. So I go, instead of going, but I'm not sure which one I did in that original thing. So just check that one out if you like country style bass and stuff. And then I have like 5 bass lines in 5 minutes, a few lines like that, or a few lessons like that. And some of those might have some videos that you might like on there too. All right, so might do a couple more things with slap, just to give you an idea how it sounds. I'm just going to do a couple songs like parts of songs like. So there's all that. What would be a fun one to do some slap with? Let me know if you have one that you want to hear. And if I know it, I can play it. Slap songs. If you know that song, that was a 90s song, Lenny Kravitz. Maybe I should just play songs and see if you guys can name the tune. That might be kind of fun. Who knows that one? I like this part. Was it I can't remember it. I'll do it slowly. Yeah, so that's that bass line. It's kind of cool. Playing it 4 times as hard. Okay, so Stephen, do you have any tips for writing music? Yes, I think that There are a lot of different ways to approach it, but one thing that can kind of help is to start with some sort of chord progression or start in some sort of key. So you might want to write in like C major, and then that limits the notes that you're using. So it's kind of nice to start there, you know, like, okay, and you go, okay, cool. I have multiple octaves, but I have C major, right? So then you could pick a chord progression in C major, and try to pick one that you might want to start if you're starting to write out, just doing it like it's an exercise. Pick progressions that get used a lot. So pick like 1, 5, 6, 4, or 1, 4, 5, or 2, 5, 1. So just start simple. Start with stuff that people have used a lot, and just kind of warm your way into it with a little bit of guidance, basically. So 1, 4, 5 progression in C is going to be like C, F, and G. So if you have a loop pedal, you could loop those, or you can play them in a different rhythm. You can decide to stay on one of them longer than the others, those kinds of things. Okay, you have a nice progression in D major. So trying to dive deeper. Well, first it's like knowledge of what works, I think. So like if you know that 1, 4, 5 works, you know 1, 5, 6, 4 works, all these other things. And then it's coming up with the melody over that chord progression. So if you have a cool chord progression, loop it, and then you want to try to resolve notes in your melody to chord tones. So like if I had a loop pedal, I wish I kind of did. I'm just going to go with the simple 1, 4, 5 kind of idea to give you an idea. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'll do 1, 4, 5, 4. So it's a C chord, an F chord, a G chord, an F chord. So then from there, you want to basically start on a note that's in the C chord, right? So I'm doing there is I'm outlining the notes of a C major scale, but I'm kind of walking into notes that are in the chord. So if I know that I'm changing to an F chord, bum, 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 F, dun, 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 then I'm hitting a note. So basically it's like the C chord, F chord, C chord, G chord. So I'm kind of like hitting some sort of chord tone within the measure. So you start that way where you basically make your melody lines very square like this, right? So at first you might be like, well, that's kind of boring, right? I want my melody to be more interesting than that. So once you have like something kind of straightforward like that, you can try messing around with it. So like if you're, let's say your simple melody is bum, 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 bum. Well, you're doing the same rhythm. You're going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and that's kind of boring after a while. So you could kind of go dun 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 dun. You could just add extra hits on each one, right? So that's one way to change it. You could start early, like anticipate a note. So that's like if your chords were going dun dun dun. You could hit a C early, dun 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 dun, right? Where I'm hitting the notes slightly before, like an eighth note before or a quarter note before the chord comes in, and then having it hang out over there. So instead of going bum 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 bum, so going 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and I could go like 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. You know, like that kind of thing. Hang on notes longer rather than shorter, and that way, if you're on a chord tone, like one thing you could do is avoid roots. As bass players, we're like trained to hit roots on downbeats, and if you're trying to write a melody that is a little bit more melodic rather than bass line oriented, just try not to hit roots on every downbeat. And I think just having that knowledge of trying to use a different chord tone constantly kind of helps. If you want it to sound jazzier, you can make your chords seventh chords instead of just triads. Instead of a C major chord going to an F major chord, in that key you could do a C major 7 chord going to an F major 7 chord, going to G dominant 7th chord. So then all of a sudden that makes it sound jazzy. So you could do that. That's an option. Writing bass lines over it. You want to be a little bit more root note oriented, but you could syncopate the rhythm. So instead of going like bum 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 bum, you could go bum 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 bum. You know, like we're not playing all of it. You might even skip over one chord entirely and just have the guitar strum it. So you can do things like that. Obviously, you can use arpeggios in your bass lines. Just it's kind of combining different elements of stuff we've gone over in other live streams and other lessons. And there's just so many things you can learn musically that every time you learn something, you may want to write a new song that incorporates that idea into it. I know Adam Nitti was talking about that. I don't remember if it was at a clinic or what, but he was talking about when he made songs like Schizo. It's kind of like, well, he started it with that cool little, you know, sweep arpeggio lick that I can't even do up high. There aren't enough frets on the U-bass. I'll do it down here to give you an idea. So when he's doing those sweep arpeggios, you know, he made a song out of it. When he did some other things that were kind of cool, he made a song about it. So let's say you make a song out of the melody is not going to hit the root note of the chord at all. So that means you have the third or the fifth of the chord to start. So we're still doing our C major going to F major going to G major going to F major, but you can't hit a C for the melody note. So the third of the chord is an E. So say our melody has to start on an E or a G. So you could try starting on the E, right? And then we don't want to hit the F. So we've got to have a note that walks up to something. So we go, right? That's like a harmony of the melody we had before. So instead of going bum, 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 I went bum, 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 E, F, G, A, because A is the third of that. But then from there, you may not want to just come down and do the exact same thing we did. So E, F, G, A. We know our next chord is a G chord. So we could either hit a G or we could hit a B. If we're trying to avoid the root, we may want to hit a B. Or we could hit a D, because that's the fifth of the G chord. So I know that's like I went over a lot of things. What I would do is take one and try to write a song using that idea. So what I would do is loop some chords and write a melody where you avoid hitting the root of the chord maybe 80% of the time. So you don't have to completely not hit the root, but maybe try to avoid it within your lines and try to resolve to the third or the fifth of the chord, depending on what chord you're going to, so that way you're not just thinking like a bass player, because we get really root note oriented from making bass lines, and to stray away from that's kind of hard after a while. Cool, yeah, and then the chordal based stuff, adding seventh chords instead of just doing triads can make a huge difference. So that's a really good one too. Great question. I feel like I could make a whole series on that. Like that almost takes like a course. You may want to look at other people's songwriting, you know, video series or things on YouTube, not just bass stuff, but I know you play piano too, so looking into how people write on the piano, because then the thing that's nice about piano is like your left hand can do chords while your right hand's doing a melody, so you don't need the loop pedal at the same time, and you can kind of change the rhythm as you go. So a lot of times the piano is easier to write on, but you know, I still have this kind of, so like really what I'm doing with that, my melody is right? So that melody is really just hitting the seventh of the chord instead of hitting the root to make it a little more interesting, right? But then I hit the root in the middle of it, but not on the downbeat to make it more interesting. So bum, 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 bum. Doing the same thing on that chord. I'm playing the seventh of the chord as the melody note. Bum, 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 bum. And there I'm getting to a B note, but it's not really resolving. So that's out of the chord. I'm almost implying a 13th chord temporarily, which is kind of weird. I just like the way it sounded. And then I'm jumping down to the fifth of the next chord and walking into the seventh. So I guess I'm thinking of that one as like a C major 7 chord, really. So you kind of get the idea. But what I'm thinking here, like one thing that you might do quarterly, play the chord here and use your pinky to hit some melody notes that are just around it, right? And being able to pull off to other notes. So maybe just learning the song that I'm releasing on Tuesday might give you some ideas on how you can do that in your own songs. Just pick different chords. You can do inversions of the chord so that the melody can be the third. Like let's say I'm doing a C chord, instead of playing it down here, if I want an E melody note, I might do an inversion. So I'm putting the E on top so that I can go while still playing the chord underneath. My pinky's just doing the melody stuff. So that kind of stuff kind of helps too. But yeah, so that's about it for today. Does anybody have any questions about any of that stuff before I go? I know I just kind of dived into a pretty deep songwriting topic, and that's not relevant to every bass player I know. Sometimes you're just playing bass lines or just trying to figure out how to come up with a bass line alone. But sometimes learning these other things and learning what guitar players and other people are doing quarterly can help you figure out how to make your bass lines more interesting. So you don't always have to hit the root of the chord, although the more you stray away from it, the more it starts sounding like a melody, and you just have to orchestrate it if you want like a melody going on in the bass. You can also do like a call and response kind of thing. Do you have sheets or tab for green tea? You're fine learning by ear too? Yeah, I want to say I did a lesson on it. I do have tabs on there. I know they're on Patreon somewhere. I don't know if I have them anywhere for free, but yeah, I mean, that one's really easy because I'm doing 2-note chords. So I'm starting with the 3rd fret on the E string and playing the 4th fret on the G string. Just 2 notes. And that's the first melody note. I mean, I guess before I'm doing a G 3rd fret and then doing the open D string. And I'm kind of slapping the strings in between. G, slap, D, D. And then I bring my hand over and hit the body twice. So G, slap, D, D, slap, slap. And then I do the note here that's more like a snare drum where I'm slapping the strings instead, and then hitting another D afterwards. So G, slap, D, D, slap, 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 D. So I should say left, left, right for those slaps, and then a D at the end. So the intros, just repeat that. Yeah. And so then after that, I'm doing those 10th chords. So that's just that 3rd fret on the E string, 4th fret on the G string, playing those notes at the same time. Then I'm slapping the strings, and then I'm hitting hitting the open D string twice. And then I'm hitting the 2nd fret on the G string and pulling off to the open G string. And actually, when I hit that 2nd fret note, it falls on a beat 4. So I'm actually slapping through the note. So I'm like hitting with force and then letting my hand mute the other strings. So you could theoretically let your middle finger stick out more than the other ones and just let it go through the G string, and then the rest of them are just stopping on the strings below. Takes a little bit of practice to get accurate with that. But that's kind of the idea. And then I'm pulling off to the open G, and then do the open Ds in between. So then there ends up being a slap on beat 2 and 4 pretty much entire way through the song, which makes it kind of tricky. And then I'm slapping the 9th fret, slapping through the string, sorry, not like a thumb slap, but I'm doing that combination of slapping and plucking a note at the same time on the G string yet again. Oh, the 9th fret. And then I end up playing the 12th fret harmonic on that note to give my hands time to shift to the C chord, which is just going to be that same 10th pattern that we were doing, but on the 8th fret. And then that ends up being a C note. So then I'm hitting the open G string rather than the open D string. So the bass line ends up being that I'm implying G, D, D, G, G, D, D, and eventually C, G, G, C, C, G, G, then back to G, D, D. So I'm implying that bass line where it's just the 1, 4, 5 chords in the key of G. And then the melody note is just stuff on the G string. With the exception of that 12th fret harmonic. And this one too. And then right? So knowing that that's the melody, and then knowing that the bass line is built off of that bossa nova pattern, really kind of helps you break down the song. Then it's just and then the drum aspect of it is slapping on beats 2 and 4. So it's kind of like you're combining a very simple melody, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, to the down, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're combining that with the bass line. But I'm using open strings more than that, so I'm going. And then when I go to the C chord, it's still a root 5th line. I'm just playing the C as the 8th fret on the E string, and then the G as the open G string, so that I can free up the other fingers to play the melody line. So hopefully that helps a little bit. So you can do it mostly by ear, but that breaks it down a little bit. It's really a simple song, and then the hardest part after that, I think if you get to the point where you can play those two at the same time, like, right? Sorry, I'm dropping the U's. You know, if you can play those parts at the same time, then it's a matter of adding a slap on beats 2 and 4. Bum, 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 ba-dum. And that's just imitating the snare drum all the way through the song. And that's the challenge, is really finding the place to do that. When you hit a melody note, you have to hit the melody note and slap at the same time. And that's really the biggest challenge. But all 3 of the parts are really simple. It's just stacking them becomes a little bit more complicated. Cool. Yeah, so I appreciate that. I wanted to make a simple song that was nice and relaxing. That was the point of that. And I wrote it on upright bass, which is why certain things are kind of interesting. I tend to use the open strings more like that on the upright bass. And, you know, being able to slap, it's like slapping all the strings at the same time is easier because there's like a curve to the strings so that you can bow them. So that curve fits nicely with your hand, just kind of slapping the strings like that rather than flat handing it. So that's really what's happening there. That's a really good breakdown of the line. I hope people can find this later on because, you know, maybe I need to make a video just going over that, because that one's really a basic song to get the idea of doing a chord melody with a backbeat. So it's really not a chord melody. It's really like the bass line in the melody, but I'm applying the chords with the bass line. Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I'm going to get back to hanging out with the family, but I appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out. Like I said, that video will be up on Tuesday with that newer song that I played earlier in the live stream. I think I'm calling it Serene Journey. So thank you so much. I hope you learned something just kind of watching this, and if not, then let me know if you have any questions about things so that I can answer those for you. All right. Oh, and thanks, Alan, for watching, and Katspita. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys hanging out, and to everybody else hanging out. And yeah, Seth, thanks for tuning in too. Yeah, that's why I'm keeping it short, and kind of, if I don't reply to a lot of comments, it's probably because I'm hanging out with the family. But thank you all so much once again. I will see you guys next time, and have a good week.